Hello, hello, hello.
Hi. Hi. Hello. We're so glad you're here
Yay.
on a Thursday morning. We are chatting with you as we do it live every Thursday, 9:30 a.m. Pacific, 12:30 p.m. Eastern. I am Natasha.
I'm Allegra.
And together we are Beyond Your Wildest Dreams, or BYWD. Life is too short. Let's shorten that up. BYWD. Ain't got time to say that every time. Beyond Your Wildest Dreams. We're so happy to be here with you every Thursday. We're just here to talk to you about planning, parenting. We talk a little bit about what's going on in our world, and then we usually have a subject. Not usually, we always have a subject for the second half of our chat. And our main mission in life as BYWD is to help you prioritize yourself, save time, and achieve your goals. And the topic that we're going to get into later is what, Allegra?
DIY spa ideas, because self-care is healthcare.
Yes. Last week I went and got a manicure, and it is already, of course, destroyed. That's why I always get like nude, because if it chips, you can't. It's because the way I run my life is, it's gonna chip within like, if it makes it more than 48 hours unchipped, that's like a miracle, So I just go nude, so it's not as noticeable. But it's been a week, and it's time. So a little bit of self-care on my end, and little DIY things that we're going to chat about today. Way to pamper yourself with that self-care. That's the first thing people usually think about, right? Is self-care is like, oh, pampering, and we're often talking about how it's not just that. In fact, it's the everyday little things where you take care of yourself, like take your supplements, drink your water, do your stretching and stuff. That is the self-care that we're normally talking about. But today we're going to just we're going to go venture into the more fun side of self-care.
Yeah, the self-care that Natasha's mentioning, we talk about in our book, Rock Your Morning. For those of you who are maybe listening to the Harness the Power of Planning podcast, which is where we upload the audio only. If you want to go listen to it again, any podcast platform, it's called the Harness the Power of Planning podcast. And we do talk about that kind of self-care, the supplements, the drinking your water, the stretching in Rock Your Morning. And this is the rest of our bouquet of books, which are, again, all about prioritizing yourself and your goals, as Natasha mentioned. But today we're going to talk a little bit more in the pampering side, but it's all DIY, right? So DIY pampering side, because maybe you want to go a little bit deeper with your self-care, but you don't want to spend the money. In fact, it's interesting because I'm reading, so we always do chit chat first and then the topic, but this is related to a book I'm reading right now. So I'm reading a book right now that recommends that you schedule 2 90-minute deep tissue, it's gotta hurt for it to count, massages a week.
Ooh, a week?
Yes.
Whoa.
Yes.
Wow.
And I was like, are you paying for that? Who's paying for that?
Seriously, that's not cheap.
Who's paying for, especially not where we are? That's really not cheap, right? Like, that would be $200 a pop, basically.
Easy.
In the Los Angeles area.
Before tipping your masseuse.
Right. Without tip, without parking, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And I was like, okay, wow. That's a pretty pricey thing that you consider to be required, this author. And however, I don't disagree with the author in terms of the effects on your body. And so anyway, we'll get into that, because I do have a DIY version of the 90-minute massage so it hurts often.
Yeah. Right? I mean, that is not even a 60-minute, right? 90.
No, 90 minutes. It was very prescriptive. It was like 90 minutes, must hurt, twice a week. I was like, dang, you're not leaving a lot of room for, messing around in there. So, but we will get to that topic in a little bit. Let's just chit chat about what's going on in our lives, which, if you've been listening to our podcast for the last couple months, it's been all about getting our kiddos ready for school. And for us, this is the second week of school in our school system. And so how's it been going for you? How are you feeling in week 2?
This week has been definitely better, for sure. What's today? Thursday? It's been better. Yeah. So my version of trying to get my kids to have some buy-in on the trackers that I put up in our, and this week if you were with us last week, I said I really have to split these up into the upstairs tracker and the downstairs tracker because we have 2 levels in our house, and it's just there's things that happen upstairs that need to be tracked.
And literally a tracker's a piece of paper with things to do, reminders.
Yeah, like right? Monday through Sunday, like, and just reminders and then check it off, right? And so it's really just, and I've said this before, it's for me to like outsource my nagging as well, aside from them just like,
yes,
to, like
outsource your nagging.
Yes, I want the paper to do the nagging. And so my son actually asked me last night, he's like, why do we have to do the tracker? And I was like, do you want me to say to you 17 times, have you done your homework? Have you done your homework? Have you practiced guitar? I was like, I don't want to say that. And you don't want to hear me ask you that. And he was kind of like, yeah, that's true. And so he's been really motivated this week because we had not a great day on Monday. And he has friends who are going to a concert on Saturday. And I just said, listen, we wouldn't normally do this, but I'm really trying, because I can't dangle a carrot every week, but we're trying to help you establish habits. And he was kind of bummed that I was like, you just got to make sure that you are doing your stuff in the evening and doing your stuff in the morning. And if you can show me that you can be responsible for the next 4 days, then that concert will still be on the table. We don't normally do that kind of thing, right? Because you're always like, oh, we should do natural consequences. Pardon me 1 second, because I just got a notification on my laptop that it's about to die. Apparently it's not been plugged in. So hold on a sec.
Live video stream. Actually, I'm just really proud of us for those of you who are joining us.
Those parenting experts say.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, it's just that, you want to have natural consequences, but unfortunately, the natural consequence of getting up late in the morning would be you get to school late. But unfortunately, the way that this is working, my husband drives my first son to school at 8 a.m. drop off, and his is an 8:30 drop off. So he'll never be late. The person who's going to wind up being late is going to be his brother. So there is no direct consequence unless I want to take him, that's also not happening. Like, you don't get to get up late and then have mom take you, right? So we're using this little carrot this week, and just also to show to him, like, hey guy, look what happens. You went to bed at the right time. You did the things you needed to do beforehand, and our mornings have been less stressful. So we're trying to use that as like a, just as a proof positive or exhibit A. Hey, this is not just for my own edification. This is really actually to help you develop new habits and develop good life skills around this, and also make our mornings way less stressful. And so we're getting there. It's a process. I have not laminated the trackers yet because I don't know if they are exactly right, because I mentioned last week too that we're doing paper versions right now. And then once we kind of like decide, okay, this is definitely the things we want to track, I will laminate it, and they'll use dry erase markers to check it off. So I don't print it up every week. But that's where we're at. How about you?
So for those of you who are just joining us, by the way, always feel free to comment wherever you're watching, on whatever platform. We do see them, and we will answer them as we are able. For those of you who haven't listened before, I've homeschooled my child her entire life. So this is a completely new thing, having my kiddo go to school. And it's been great. It's been really great. And yesterday, I was actually a little bit teary about it. Because I'm just used to having her around a lot more. And so by the time pickup comes, I'm like the little rat, like wanting the fix. I'm like, where is she? Where is she? I can't wait to see her. So
that's so sweet. Yeah.
I've been a little teary about it, but just so happy that it's been going well. And she's really been on top of what's been due. Like, she'll be like, Mom, sign that. Mom, sign that. Mom, sign that. I'm like, whoa, okay. Like, I just didn't know how she was going to be because she hasn't had this before. She's been super on top of her homework. And so, yay, it's been good.
That is so awesome. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, there's a lot of signing stuff in the first few weeks, like a lot of syllabuses and all that kind of stuff. It's definitely different. When I was in high school, I don't remember ever going home with a syllabus at the beginning of the school year and having my parents sign it. Like, there was, all these rubrics on grading and stuff like that. It was just like, you're in science now. Maybe you get an A, B, C, or D. Good luck. You know what I mean? It was like, that I don't remember any of that. Yeah, we've had some.
When we were growing up, there was very little communication, and now they've definitely swung to the maybe over communicating, but I prefer the over communicating. Yeah. And so it just seemed like every single teacher wanted my contact info, which I would have thought that was available to them already, but fine, happy to give it to you.
Right.
So
exactly. Yep. 100%. Yeah. Because you do want to be able to be in communication with your kids' teachers if anything
absolutely.
arises. Yeah. And does she have an open house or open back to school night coming up?
Not that I know of. I haven't seen one on the calendar. So, but football starting.
Oh yeah, I know it's cool. So crazy. Both our kids are starting high school, and it's like they have a home. It's just my husband and I were joking. And it was like, there's gonna be a homecoming parade, a homecoming dance, and a homecoming game. Like, and I was like, oh, we're at a school that like football is a big deal at the school that we're at. And so it's kind of wild. The high school I went to, football was like, we grew up. I grew up on Long Island. It's not like I grew up in the South where like football is like a really big deal. So we had a football team and we had homecoming games and stuff, but it wasn't like things lived and breathed for football. You know what I mean? And this school is like into the football program.
Well, I always joke that my high school, the football team was undefeated, and that's because we didn't have one. So
what an amazing record.
right. Undefeated.
Yay.
But hey, and y'all, you watching, we'd love to hear what's going on with your kiddos going back to school. Are you not back to school? Are you counting down the days? If you're counting down the days, we definitely have thoughts on how to make it easier for you all. I feel like my child has had a very soft landing into her starting high school, new school, new people, new teachers, and completely different situation. So
wild. Yeah. She's done really great. You've prepped her very well, I have to say. Plus
I did spend like the whole summer though.
Yeah. I'm just saying, but like you have prepped her very well. Yeah. You didn't just kind of like throw her, start bringing these concepts in a week before school. It's a big transition. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And my younger son, if any of you listening, check with your school and your school district, especially if you're in an urban area. It just so happens that our school district gives our kids free Metro cards, TAP cards, which means they can ride any public transportation from now till, and if they stay local through college, all the way through their graduating year of college for free. And that includes summers, weekends, nighttime, anytime, not just school time. And my youngest was so excited to use it that, because he has a friend. He would need to take a slightly different bus route to get home, but he has a friend who lives right on one of the Metro bus lines right near the school. So I had to mama bear this because he was like, we know what to do. I was like, I'm coming to the school and I am going to take you guys. We're going to walk from the school to the bus stop and then I'm going to wait. And I'm going to make sure you get on the right bus. And there was only one bus at the stop, so they can't get on the wrong bus. But I'm going to make sure that your TAP cards work because they activated it, but you have to like actually use it in order for it to fully activate. And I'm going to make sure, that you get on the right bus. And, and then of course I'm furiously checking the app on my phone. Like, where is he? Okay, good. They did get off at the right stop because I could see them start walking down this other kid's street. So they successfully used the Metro bus on Tuesday and it was really cute. And it's just like another level of, independence. This is
independence.
Not making bus transfers, not having to do any of that kind of stuff. It's very easy. Get on one stop, and then just make sure you press the button at the right time to get off. And so, he might be doing that on Tuesdays with his friend because they had a great time.
Oh my God.
I know, isn't that cute?
That's so great.
He's just really happy too to be taking. Other times he takes the school bus home, and that just happens to drop off right in front of our house. But so he's really happy about having like a little gate key to our complex, and it's just very weird to be home and then all of a sudden the front door opens and he appears, and it's wild, Yeah,
it is such rites of passage that they are going through, and
and you and I are going through it too because you're missing your daughter, and for me it's like that pickup time, that drop off time, like. I kind of miss that morning. Like I've been driving my son to school every morning for the last 3 years, and he and I have like a little quiet time together. And then I pick him up, and then and that's shifted. It's different.
Yeah. And the other thing too is it's interesting, the whole football thing, because I didn't have a football team, so when I would see when people would talk about Friday Night Lights, I'd be like, is that really a thing? And they call it Friday Night Lights. And I was like, oh wow, that's really a thing. Like I didn't know really if that was real or not. And my daughter was like, well, you don't have to come. And I do not enjoy watching many sports, and football is one of the sports I do not enjoy watching. And I was like, well, I don't want to come because I don't enjoy it, but I'm coming because I need to see like layout and make sure you're safe and all of that. And I said to her, I was like, if we take you there, who are you meeting and where are you meeting them? And she's like, oh, we're meeting at this place. I'm meeting these people. Like she had a whole plan. And I was
Oh,
like, oh, okay,
awesome.
this is not like random.
That sounds like her.
where are they?
Uh-huh.
You know, so anyway, so we're gonna go. Maybe this is the only time I go because I do not enjoy it. But I guess I'll drop her off and hey, maybe I'll find a 90-minute massage somewhere nearby.
That's what you need to do. Book a massage, drop her off, come back at the end of the game and pick her up. That sounds easy. Yeah.
So, but the interesting thing was I did do I did a comedy show last week, and it was funny because my comedy friend. So for those of you who don't know, I do stand-up comedy for fun, and Natasha sings. Those are kind of like our creative outlets. And some of my comedy friends were like, where have you been? I haven't seen you all summer. And I was like, dude, my daughter is starting school. I had to do all this stuff to get her. I just didn't have the mental bandwidth to also stand up and do stand-up comedy. So I'm looking forward to being able to do some more stand-up, as like I just feel like I have so much more mental bandwidth. I'm like, feels like my head can breathe again now that this big rite of passage is kind of, you know, we're moving through it. So
yeah, it's taking hold. It sounds like it's working, you know, the things that you've prepared for. Yeah.
Yeah. So our topic today is DIY spa ideas for moms and this could be for dads too, but hey, we're moms, so that's the lens through which we see the world. And Natasha, I really believe that self-care is healthcare, because the reality is the majority of working parents, and this is men and women, the majority of working parents, something like 70%, feel burnt out. And the percentage is higher for women than men, and the percentage is also higher if you are a mother of color. So taking self-care is one of the ways to avoid burnout. And we actually have a great little one-page handout. I'm going to pop this up there. If you go to bywdreams.com and sign up for our newsletter, you'll get this little one-page tips on 3 tips that take less than 2 minutes that you can do to help move you away from burnout. It's super powerful, all science-backed, because Natasha and I are big brain science nerds. And not only are we brain science nerds, so we've researched it, but we also know it works because we do these things ourselves. So once you've kind of moved back from the edge of burnout, you can go deeper into your self-care, because, you know, there's a saying out there, happy wife means happy life. And there's some truth to that saying. Like, you show up as the best version of yourself when you feel taken care of. And that's true no matter who you are.
Right. Care from the overflow. Care for others from the overflow, right? Not from your depleted self, not from like, you know, your glass is half empty and you're throwing the rest of it out for everybody else, right? You're all filled up and you're flowing over. And that's just the best for everyone. Quite honestly, obviously yourself, but also everybody around you, you know, because I know when I'm depleted and then I try to give, like, I yell, I want to get away. I'm just done, you know, and I'm not my best self at all, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You can feel resentful. You can actually get physically ill because you're just burnt out, because you're stressed and you're not getting enough sleep and whatever. And hey, we also understand that when you have kids in that 0 to 5 range, it can be really hard to feel like you can have a spare moment to yourself. And that's where our one-page cheat sheet is so great for avoiding burnout, because there are these tiny little things that you can do that take less than 2 minutes a day that can actually move the needle for you.
Yeah. Yeah. We know how hard it is. Like, you know, you've gone days without a shower sometimes, like, you know, that whole thing. Right. So, you know, we're not saying like, oh, and now start this 45-minute self-care routine. Like, we get that that's not it. So this cheat sheet really talks about has things in there that are a minute, 2 minutes of little something for yourself, so that you can hopefully, you know, beat that burnout back.
Yeah, just get on that path of self-care because it's so important. And hey, if you can, ask a family member or ask a good friend, switch off with a good friend and say, hey, if you watch the kiddos, I just need an hour to go walk in the park, and look at the trees, whatever it is that does it for you.
Right.
There are ways to make this happen.
Yeah. And like, even if you have those friends who are like not, baby happy, maybe they can just come and do your dishes, you know what I mean? Or fold your socks for you, right? Because like maybe they don't want to hold a baby. Maybe that's not their thing, but damn, that laundry's piling up, right? Maybe they can do a few loads for you. Well, yeah,
that was me. That was me before I had a kid. I was the friend who came over and folded the laundry.
Yeah, I did that for friends. And then I had a friend who was like, she's like, listen, I can't come to you. She's like, but I will, she's like, I will be a laundry service. She's like, I'm going to come by, grab it. I'm going to do it when I do all my family laundry and I'll bring it back. I mean, it was just like spectacular,
Yeah.
So like there are people, find ways that people can help in the ways that they're able to, right? In the ways that they can meet you, because some friends I think, oh, I'm not really a baby person and I don't know about babies and blah, blah, blah. And then they just kind of fade back and don't know how to ask, don't know how they can help. But there's so many different ways that people can help, right? Which is, like maybe make some phone calls for you, whatever. Like if you need to follow up on something, I don't know. There's lots of different ways that people can help, not just to hold the baby or, watch the toddler, but other ways too. So I just want to mention that because I feel like that's a really good untapped resource sometimes.
Absolutely.
But let's talk about DIY, self-care, spa. So now we're talking about the fun side of DIY. We're like, this is the frosted side. Like often we're talking about the crunchy side where, like the whole wheat side where we're like, make sure that you
whole wheat side.
Yeah. So often, but this is the frosted side. This is the frosted. This is the
sugary sweet.
The sugary sweet side where it's like, yay, fun self-care.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, so I'm a huge fan of going to the Korean spa. And the thing that I like the most about the Korean spa are the pools, right? The hot jacuzzi, the cold plunge, that sort of thing. And so hopefully you have access to a bathtub because taking a bath is so restorative. It's so good for your muscles. It's so good for your mind, for your mindset. And I like to juice up my luxuriating with bath salts. And I go beyond the Epsom salts because I've had the benefit of taking mineral baths and I felt the real difference that mineral baths can make. So when you get other salts in there, including lithium, which is one of those feel-good salts, if you can find a brand that has more than just the traditional Epsom salts, that has maybe higher quantities of magnesium, maybe it has lithium in it. I have seen one out there. I think it's a brand. I think it's called Flu. I haven't purchased it, but I read the ingredients and it said that. Let me tell you, lithium in your bath water, you will not believe what it can do for you. And it was interesting because I was telling Natasha this, and she had said that she'd read something that said that people who live near areas where lithium is naturally high have lower cases of mental health issues, right?
Yeah, it was discovered by somebody in the late 1800s. He discovered lithium as a salt, and it's like it has like this really bizarre, I shouldn't say bizarre, but it has like this connotation. You think about Nirvana and the 90s and Kurt Cobain taking lithium, and it has like this kind of idea of like, ooh, it's a drug, it's a psychoactive drug. It's a salt, actually.
It's a salt.
It's a naturally occurring mineral, and when it shows up naturally in the water supply, there's generally less mental health issues in those areas, in that town or city or whatever. So it's not scary.
I had the opportunity to bathe in water that had lithium in it earlier this year. And my husband, and one of my best friends, we all took the bath and we were all like, oh my gosh, I feel so good. I feel relaxed and energized at the same time. So
such a good feeling.
Yes, such a good feeling. So and by the way, you can buy lithium supplements. You can buy right? You can't get the medical strength lithium, obviously.
Right.
But you can't. And hey, let's get some of that lithium that they're mining for our batteries, and let's put it in our bath water, man.
And at this point, we're going to say this is not medical advice. We are not doctors. We are just saying from personal experience.
And it feels good.
And legitimately, lithium is a naturally occurring mineral. So just to take some stigma out of it. But
Yeah.
we're not doctors and we're not prescribing you anything. So
No.
just want to say that.
Yeah. So you might want to check out these products that have lithium in them. Juice up your bath water. I also like to put mugwort in my bath water, which is an herb, which is a plant that a friend of mine happens to grow. And so she'll give it to me when she's thinning out her stuff, and I'll dry them. So I have a big bag of mugwort under my sink, and then I just crinkle up a few leaves. Mugwort has been known to be good for helping regulate women's hormones and stuff. So find ways. I also put in a little bit of coconut oil into my bath because it moisturizes my skin, but also coconut oil is antimicrobial, so that's great. And like, depending on how I'm feeling, I might put in a little ginger if I feel like my circulation, if I want to sweat, you put a little ginger in.
Now, do you put in powdered ginger, or do you
powdered ginger?
Okay, I was going to say slices of ginger. Okay,
no, just ginger. The cooking ginger, and definitely be careful with it because it makes it a little spicy. You also have to be careful with eucalyptus and peppermint essential oils. You can put too much, you can burn your skin with it. So
I'm thinking of my nether regions. And
no, it's fine. I put in.
I'm just joking.
Yeah, there's no nether region issue. Let me just put that out there. But you will sweat more. So if you want to sweat, add in some ginger. So peppermint oil, eucalyptus oil, ginger, coconut oil, mugwort, all the salts, the magnesium salt, the lithium salt, all those salts. And then the last thing I will add in is there was one other thing. Mugwort, ginger, peppermint. Oh, clay. I will add a little bit of clay because clay is detoxing. So it will help help bind to whatever is released from your body so you don't reabsorb it. And so I'll put a little bit of clay, like a couple tablespoons, into the bath, and I will soak in that.
And this is all safe to go down the drain?
Yeah, this is all safe to go down the drain.
Yeah, because I've heard that coconut oil is not a good idea to go down the drain because it will re-solidify and cause problems. But
it's so little, and the water's hot when it's going down that I guess it sluices it down.
Awesome.
The only thing is the mugwort. I do put the mugwort in a tea bag and pull it out because that's big and gritty, and that would be messy.
And do you put this all in one bath? Or you talk about do you do it in different wage stages or different, I'm feeling this way, I'm going to do this, and mix
so I usually
up.
only do the ginger in wintertime when I'm feeling the need for increased circulation. Like I want to warm up my body, or when I'm maybe feeling a little congested and I want to move all that congestion out. I tend to use ginger when I need it.
Got it.
Same with peppermint and eucalyptus. And those are just kind of how I'm feeling, if I want to, that sort of thing.
Now, if you're not a bath person, which I'm not because we do not have any adequate bathtubs in my house, I have disproportionately long legs and short torso, which makes for a very weird bath situation. So I'm either sitting up straight to have my legs in, or I'm laying down and my legs are on this. Given our bathtubs, if we had a clawfoot tub, it'd be a different story. But baths are not relaxing because I can't really find a very comfortable position to be in. So I'm much more of a shower person. And what I've done to kind of just make it a little more spa friendly, or just, feeling, is just getting some sprigs of eucalyptus and putting them over my shower head. And so when that warm water starts heating up, the eucalyptus it gives a little bit of a scent. It's really, really nice. It's not overwhelming. And then after a while it dries out, and I just kind of stuck it in a dry flower arrangement that I have, and then just replace it with a new set of eucalyptus. And it's just a couple bucks, maybe. I don't know. I picked them up at Trader Joe's. I'm sure you can find them. It's just a little collection of eucalyptus, which just gives a little bit of a yay, it feels a little spa-like. And the other thing that, self-care spa-wise, is that I will do a hair mask, or using different argan oil or that kind of thing, and rub it into the scalp and put it on, but then put a shower cap on it so it kind of really bakes in there, because and then if I know I'm gonna take a shower later, so I'll do that in the morning, walk around with a shower cap on and help it bake in there instead of just kind of like sitting out and potentially dripping or whatever. And really kind of like like if they say a 5-minute mask, like sometimes it's on 30-40 minutes. And let it just sit in there, and then then eventually shower it out, because I'm just more of a shower girl. Yeah, it's like I said, if we someday we'll have a gigantic tub and I'll be a tub person and a bath person. But if you don't have that available to you, there's other ways to make things feel like really sensual. And the other thing I want to say is I do, however, do foot baths. Now that is, especially we're getting back into soccer season, and after we play soccer, I really do like to soak my feet in some Epsom salt. It just feels really great, really restorative. Maybe I'm going to go ahead and try adding some of these other things that you mentioned, just even for the foot bath. That can just really feel like, if you do ever go get a pedicure at a nail salon, it really does feel good to soak your feet right before they go ahead and take care of it and stuff. And so that can just really feel, man, our feet, or at least I'll say my feet, get neglected, and it just really can make all the difference. Your feet feels good. You feel a little bit of a literal spring in your step, So if baths are not your thing, you can kind of work around that with some other little things like foot baths.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the foot bath thing, totally agree. And even better, foot massage. I mean, there are so many pressure points on your feet. And if you're into traditional Chinese medicine, you know that they correspond with different parts of your body. What do you have to lose if you give yourself a little bit of a foot massage, and maybe even research the different points on your foot and see, hey, if you've been having digestion issues, maybe try stimulating the area of your foot that corresponds to that. You can find all that. Again,
or even better, get your partner to do it.
Yeah, get your partner to do it. Oh yeah.
They have these little socks, right, where you put them on and it shows you on your foot like where the pressure points are and stuff. So, you know, it's really like a paint by numbers situation. I personally have the tickliest feet ever, and I cannot stand foot massages. Like, I will kick you in the face if you touch my feet. It's just I don't mean to, but like I can't. It's very hard for me to relax. So yes, a pedicure is often me going just kind of like breathing through it, and then the nail tech usually is laughing because I'm just kind of like, I am just trying not to kick you. I'm sorry. Like I'm trying not to kick you. I'm like super squirmy. So that's not always for everybody, but I know lots of people who love a foot massage. And
well, and I actually have, so here's another DIY thing that I do for many reasons. I actually have these acupressure sandals.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we can put, this is, if you've been with us before, Natasha and I have been on this journey in terms of learning all the technology that is required to bring this to you. And so I don't yet know if there's a way for us to show pictures. So I'm
not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. But there are these sandals I have that have rocks embedded in the sandals. And the rocks correspond to the acupressure points that I was mentioning earlier. And the first time I ever put on these sandals, it hurt so bad. I couldn't even stay in them for a second, let alone walk in them. And I don't know how long I've had these sandals at this point, but I can cook, I can walk around for 30 minutes with them on. A long time. And
nice.
It didn't take that. Yeah, and it didn't take that long for the points to release so that it wasn't painful. It wasn't like it took years. It's just I've had these sandals for years. So, like, especially this is something that really helped me. I had plantar fasciitis a couple years ago because I'd kind of gotten out of the practice of wearing those sandals. And my doctor was telling me about rolling out my foot. And I said, oh, you know what? I'm going to try those sandals because it sounds like what you're talking about is the same kind of benefit I was getting from the sandals. I just hadn't been wearing them. And I wore the sandals for every single day religiously for like a couple weeks, and my plantar fasciitis was no longer. So that really helped. And also too, it's just, again, Chinese medicine, it's supposed to be good for releasing a lot of different things. So I've been getting back into the habit of wearing the sandals because it really does feel like an amazing foot massage because you have your whole body weight working on your feet.
Right.
So
right.
it's a really nice passive way to get a foot massage.
Yes.
And I wish I could show you a picture of them, but they're fantastic. Sign up for our email list. I'll include that, or if you go visit the podcast, I'll include a link for that so you can see what this thing is that I'm talking about. So
awesome.
That's another DIY
so just
idea.
little ways to just slip these things into your, and not expensive, right? We're talking about like teas and salts and, you know, I'm definitely going to check out these sandals. They sound like absolute total torture.
They are.
They're especially, you know, but maybe it'll help me overcome my insanely ticklish feet. You know, like maybe pain will override the ticklishness. Yeah, because I feel like your feet are super neglected a lot, you know, in modern day shoes and whatnot, you know. We really should be walking around more barefoot and so forth.
Yes.
You know, I had a friend who grew up in Hawaii, and he was like, I never put shoes on until I like had to when I got to middle school, and they like forced you to wear slippers to school. You know about Hawaii, and his feet were like hands. Like they were just like, I mean, they were so articulated, and they looked so happy and natural, you know. He's like I barely ever wore shoes like my entire childhood, and his feet looked really healthy and amazing, you know. And I was yeah, it's because he was, if he was wearing shoes, they were slippers and mostly barefoot. And so we happy feet, happy life, happy feet, happy feet, happy.
I definitely recommend these sandals for that. So my final DIY tip goes back to what we were talking about earlier about getting deep tissue massages. I have been getting really into fascia release, which if you're not familiar, and I will include this in the podcast notes and in the email that goes out. So if you want this information, but if you're not aware of what fascia is the connective tissue that basically gives your body shape, and it can account for as much as 40 to 60 pounds of your body weight. And fascia is not just, so the easiest way to describe it is if you've ever taken the skin off of a chicken, you know, there's that translucent membrane that you also have to remove. That is fascia. However, there are thinner pieces of fascia that go between the muscle fibers as well, kind of like laminated pastry dough, like phyllo dough. If you think of fascia as the butter and the dough as your muscle, you have fascia, thin amounts of fascia running in between all of your muscle. And then you also have thick parts of fascia, kind of like the fascia that runs under your foot that gives you plantar fasciitis, that is so thick, it's like a tendon. Okay, so you have all these different types of fascia. And if you've listened to us before, you might have heard me talk about in my 30s when I was bedridden. The information around fascia is only 3 to 7 years old. It's very, very new concept that's being discussed in terms of physical health. I was bedridden almost 20 years ago. So there was no talk about fascia. But now what I know about fascia, I realize that's what was making me bedridden, because fascia, especially from repetitive stress or from sitting, it bunches up. It gets all tight because, kind of like your Hawaii story, we're not moving enough to keep it lubricated and loose. And so I have gotten really into whole body fascia releasing, because the thing is if you do one area, great, now it's loose here, now it's compensating and it's tight over here. And so you're like, argh. So I just have to do my whole body. It takes about 30 minutes. And it is like the best massage I've ever had in my entire life. It's so relaxing. I fall asleep instantaneously. So I highly recommend whole body fascia massage. You will need some sort of implement to do this. I do like the Ashley Black fascia blaster items. However, they are pricey. However, her original fascia blaster, I got mine on eBay for like $30. So
yeah, you can definitely find them cheaper. Yeah, for sure. So do you do it before bed since you're so relaxed? Is this part of like your nighttime routine now?
Yes. So it's become part of my nighttime. I do it every other day because right now I'm still in the release portion. At some point, I'm imagining like my other practices, you'll get to like a maintenance place where you don't have to do it as often.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm still actively releasing. Like I am so bruised. It's crazy.
I know people who do their maintenance in the shower. Like they just have their tool in the shower and they do it while they're showering. So there are ways to like later on incorporate it so that it's not super time consuming, just comes part of your self-care.
Yeah. And I've done other types of fascia. Like I've tried the foam rollers and I've tried the balls, and you have to figure out what works for you. But I'm a very muscular person and my muscles are big and deep. And I feel like the claw that Ashley Black uses in her things are the only thing that gets deep enough for me. So maybe a roller will work for you, or a ball. I need deep and like small digits so that it's really getting in there. And it's such a huge difference. It really is. When he said that 90-minute massage, I was like, I'm just going to keep doing my fascia release because that's given me that same thing and it's costing me nothing more. You're muted.
I knew that. Sorry. I haven't gotten into the fascia tools, but using one of these massage hooks and stuff has definitely been really helpful. But like you said, it's so localized though that it's like really difficult to like. It's not good for my whole back. It's not good, but it is good for some really tough pressure points too. So that's a great way to like, this recommendation of deep tissue. These massage hooks, it was like $12 on Amazon. It's like super cheap, but it really, really works. And it gets those places in your back that like you would just never be able to get on your own, and like really get in the hook in there and just give yourself exactly like the deep as you can handle it kind of massage. So that's another way to get around the 90-minute $200 massage.
And the muscle hook, I use that one for these 2 points right here behind, my upper neck.
Yeah. That's
upper shoulders, lower neck. Yeah, right there. And the movement that I've learned that works the best is you dig it in and then you wiggle it around. That's really what releases it, because apparently fascia, it requires some movement to release it. Like just pushing it is not enough.
You got to wiggle it.
You got to wiggle it
a little bit.
So if you Google fascia flossing, you'll hear that a lot because it has this movement in it. People also call it exfoliation because it's like this inner, rubbing that's happening. So I have about 10 different tools and I actively use 4 of them, right? I have the shoes, I have an acupressure mat, I have the hook, and I have the fascia blaster. Those 4 are the things that I use regularly.
Right on.
And I accumulated them over a long period of time. So, hey, like look at them, choose the one that works for you, and then say, okay, that's great for this. Now I need this.
Okay. I like the idea of the sandal. I like the idea of the sandals. I'm going to start with the sandals first. Sounds horrible, but I'm into it. I feel like my feet need it.
Thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a blast to be here with you. And if you're watching the recording, feel free to comment. We see it. We answer the comments. And if you'd like to listen to it again, check out the Harness the Power of Planning podcast, available wherever you get your podcasts. This episode will be up in a day, and you can go listen to it then.
We'll see you next Thursday. Take care and dream wild, wild dreamers.